What motivates you, bro?
So, there's a misconception that motivation is a constant state. Probably a better question to ask is what motivated me? Because I stay motivated now.
There you go. I like it. I like it. Welcome to another edition of the Big Dad Energy Podcast. I'm your host, Nick.
And I'm Gus.
And we are Big Dad Energy. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe on any platform which you are listening to this podcast.
So, there's a misconception that motivation is a constant state. I think it starts with when enough is enough, when you're tired of the stink, when you're tired of the complacency, when you're tired of it. Once enough is enough, that's the motivation that you need.
Oh, I agree 100%. If motivation was a constant state, there would never be a reason for you to get motivated, right?
Exactly.
You would never get complacent.
It's more about discipline and choosing your why. A lot of people can tell you what they do, when they do it, how they do it, but they can't tell you why they do it. And why is the anchor that grounds us, right? Once you get that motivation, once you've had enough is enough and you're ready for that change, like the day that you decide to change is an amazing day, but you have to anchor it with your why and then use disciplines to act on it, right?
Oh, 100%. And those will then build sustainable habits for yourself, right? So like the biggest thing with me as an employee or a former employee in whatever job I was doing, my time in the service, right? Whatever it is, the core foundation for everything besides having the discipline to stay with it is the why. Why are we doing this? Why is what you're telling me that you need me to do important? And to me, that's the sign of a great leader, is when you're able to explain the why to get the buy-in. That's the biggest thing for me is I need a why. Why am I doing this? Why does this need to make sense? Why does this need to be done this way? And that's something as a parent, sometimes you get stuck in the whole, I need you to do this and I need you to do it the way I pictured you doing it and I need you to do it like now. It's being able to take that step back and get them to understand why you're asking them to do something, why it's important, and why it needs to be done a specific way or by a specific time.
Yeah, so I want to shout you out because I took a page out of your playbook and we had our first family meeting yesterday and I created my family playbook. The very first thing was our why. It was a collaboration between my wife, myself, and my two daughters. And the very first thing was we put together our why, right? How I did it is, and it's one of the 7 Habits by Stephen Covey. And it's begin with the end in mind, right? For adults, the exercise is, imagine you're at a funeral, but it's not just any funeral, it's your own funeral. What does your immediate family say about you? What does your extended family say about you? What do your peers and coworkers say about you? What do your bosses basically say about you? What does your church or community say about you, right? And how do you want to be remembered? What legacy do you want to put in place for the next generations, right? How do you want to be remembered? And it's a powerful exercise if you really think about it, especially for us. We just went to 2 funerals, right? A very, very influential patriarchs in our family. So I challenged my wife and myself to begin with the end in mind. And now you can build steps, you can develop the habits, you can visualize the steps that you need to get to that point, and that's your anchor. Everything that you do from that point is to get to that end goal. And it's not just a straight up, it's, you have your obstacles and everything, you have your detours, but that's how you get to it.
Oh, no, I agree with you, and I'm happy to hear that, man, and I'm happy to hear it sounds like it went well, and we got the buy-in, and we're, getting ready to move forward. And I feel like the best way to move forward is if everybody's on the same page. Yeah, there's one person steering the ship, one person flying the plane, one person driving the car, whatever metaphor you want to use. But at the end of the day, it's not just about the person or the two people that are driving or steering the ship. It's about everybody that's along for the ride, right? Like the last episode we talked about the energy bus, right? Get everyone being on your bus and getting ready to move forward. And everyone's got to be on the same page. You got to explain that why. You have to have the destination in sight. And how you get there, driving to Texas is a drive. Driving out to El Paso is a drive. But you have the option to go in the scenic route. You're still getting to the same destination, but you're changing the way that you get there, or you're making detours that are better for the overall well-being of the family or the passengers in the car, or to make a more memorable trip. Whatever you're doing, like you said, it's not just point A to point B, but what you're doing is you're seeing the end goal of what the house needs to look like. Then you're laying the foundation. Then you can start putting up the beams, putting up the drywall, doing everything you need to do in between in order to get to the end game.
Exactly. Or getting motivated, there's not a strategy for it, right? There's a lot of motivational podcasts. There's a lot of motivational videos. There's a lot of awesome soundtracks you could listen to, right? But you were motivated before you listened to that. Those aren't motivations. Those are more like reassurances or affirmations. And I listen to them all the time. Shit, we created our own, right? That day that you decide enough is enough. Jim Rohn has a hilarious story where he talks about a guy that just had enough of his broken down old car, right? And kept breaking down on him and leaving him stranded. And what he did was he drove it out into the middle field, took a shotgun to this car and said, enough is enough. I'm never going to drive this car again. And I'm going to make sure nobody else drives this car again. And that was the day that he got motivated to make changes. And after that, he set his standards, he set his disciplines, became successful. But when people would ask him, how did you get successful? He would literally say, let's go into my backyard, I'll show you, because I still got it, right? And it was just shot up car. Like, that's hilarious. But that's the day that everything changes, right? If you can anchor that to something, that's even more powerful. I know Nick's got a bunch of tattoos. I bet one or two of them is about a day enough was enough, or your motivation.
100%. You gotta have those daily reminders, right? Being able to, like you said, have something that anchors you down, right, into something that reminds you of your why you're doing this, or why you said enough is enough, right? We could get into my tattoos a whole nother day. I have a tattoo for all my fallen brothers and sisters and to reflect my time of service. It's part of my motivation. I have Polynesian art with 4 little fish, one for me, one for my wife, and one for my 2 boys, just as a daily reminder of why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? Why I keep pushing forward. My family's a big why. At work, we had a team building exercise. We had to all put my why presentation together, right? So it was just it could be as many slides as you wanted. Mine was just one slide with a couple different pictures on it, right? And it leans into my God, family, country tattoo. It's my why. Everything I do is within the grace of God. He grants me the ability to do everything that I can for my family and for my country. And when you can anchor down into something and you have those daily reminders, it's easier for you to continue pushing forward and to continue moving forward. I was listening to Jeff Hayden about, he did a TED Talk about why motivation's a myth. And one of the things he said was he wanted to go I forgot what he called it, but it was some really long extended bicycle race, right? He's like, or a marathon. He's like, I want to do this. Never done this before. So he called up this guy who's a professional bicyclist or cyclist and he said, hey, I want to do this. What should I do? And he said, after the guy laughed for a few minutes, he basically told him, he's like, hey, if you want to do this, this is what you need to do. And he kind of gave him parameters or like an outline or like, you know, his like, hey, this is your end goal. Like, right, we talked about what the destination is. This is what you need to do to get there. And he said the first thing he had to do, which was the day after he had this conversation, was a 3-hour bike ride. He said that was by a long shot the most time he's ever spent on a bicycle. But he said was the guy didn't care about motivating him. What he did was more profound. It's what he called finding a pro. He's like, I found someone who's done this. And then they gave me a path that I can take to accomplish my goal or reach my destination. So I thought it was very, very profound and very powerful. I think he's got a book on it too called Motivation is a Myth.
Do you know what cyclists eat before they race?
What?
Nothing. They fast. All right, sorry. You can continue.
No, it's that's definitely a book I'm gonna, you know, we talked about books that, you know, not motivate us, but help us out, that guide us, that are really inspirational, things that really affect our day-to-day life. That's definitely a book I'm gonna be on the lookout for. That way I can go ahead and knock that one out too. We got to talk about these goals to get to the destination, right? So, and they got to be smart. They got to make sense, right? It's got to be specific. It's got to be measurable. It's got to be achievable. It's got to be relevant. And it's got to be time bound, meaning it's got to have, my goals need to be done by this, you know, date, this time, this specific, you got to have an end date. And the reason why they got to be specific is because if they're not specific, it doesn't make sense, because it's not going to help you get to your goal. It's got to be measurable, right? You got to be able to look at the data. You got to be able to collect the data from your goals, and you got to be able to assess if the goals or the steps or the tasks, the action plan, whatever it is you're developing, right, to get to your destination. You got to be able to measure it. It's got to be, because when you look at the data, you got to make sure that it's actually beneficial for you, that it's helpful, that it's not deterring you from getting to your goal. Achievable, obviously, it's got to be real. It's got to be something that you can accomplish, right? It can't be, I want to go to the, you know, my destination is to live the greatest life ever, and then step one is I want to go to the moon. Okay, cool. Like, how is that achievable? How are you going to get there? You know, that's kind of out in la la land. Realistic.
You mean relevant?
Relevant. There we go. Relevant. It's got to be it's got to flow with your end game, with your goal.
Here's one thing I will add to the relevancy, right? You can be super busy, doesn't mean you're going to be super productive. So it has to be relevant. You don't want to spend major time on minor things. You want to make sure it's relevant to your goal, and that's why the why is so important.
Agreed. No, 100%. I'm with you.
And then time bound.
Yeah, no, time bound, obviously, like we said, you got to put a stamp like this has to be done by this day or time in order to move on to your next step, right? In order to be able to continue moving forward to get to your destination.
Yes, when you have limits, that makes sense. But how much time would you put on your kid for them to start walking? You're not going to say, okay, by 1-year-old, you better start walking. Otherwise, you're just not going to walk and we're going to give up.
Yeah, well, that's where it gets specific to what your goal is. You know what I'm saying? Because if you want your kid to get their room cleaned, you're not going to expect them to be like, oh, you have a month to clean your room. It's like, no, your room needs to be cleaned within the next hour. You got to put a time on it. Realistic expectation. You get what I'm saying?
That's interesting, because cleaning the room, right? Sometimes it's just a little bit of a mess and I only need 10 minutes, right? But sometimes it's a crazy mess and I'm going to be in there for a few hours because I got to go through all this stuff, right?
Or all weekend.
I mean, I get the point is you don't want to drag it out and take too much time, but time bound, I don't know.
So that's something that we use SMART a lot when it was coming to establish our action plans at work. So like if we had an action plan for DE&I, We're going to have a team meeting once a month. We spend, 10 minutes covering DE&I to help expand everyone's knowledge and awareness on different situations. We're going to do that for, 4 months. And then we're going to gauge kind of based on everyone's feedback on the team on if it's beneficial or not, if we're going to keep moving forward, if we need to adjust it. But we're putting a time on it, right? On the action plan itself of this is what we're going to do. This is why we're doing it. And this is going to be the cutoff date for us to reassess to see if this is beneficial, if there's something that we need to change to decide how we keep moving forward. So I'm with you. Time bound's interesting, but it's completely dependent on what the destination is, right? It depends if it's a specific task, like, hey, I shot up my car, I'm never driving it again, but I want to go ahead and I need to purchase a more reliable car. I think it would be a good idea to have that time frame down for your steps to get there. We talk about our whys, right? And we talk about a lot of times with the whys and the destination, you have to visualize what your destination is, right? You have to visualize your success, right? To quote one of my favorite movies of all time, you got to visualize and attack.
I want you to visualize and then attack. Can you handle that?
I tried.
Just gonna try.
Gatorade.
Water sucks. All right. The power of that, of being able to have the wisdom, the wherewithal, the focus, the drive to visualize what your success looks like, I think is super powerful, super impactful, because now it's no longer a dream, right? It's a goal. It's something that's attainable. It's something tangible. It's something you can put your hands on, right? It's like, it's kind of what Jeff Hayden said of finding a pro. You know what that looks like. You know what success from achieving this goal looks like. And that's going to help with that motivation, right? Instead of, everyone thinks that motivation, we talk about motivation being a myth. Motivation is like, oh yeah, I'm going to get fired up to run through a wall, right? It's, okay, Mike the Situation on Jersey Shore tried to run through a wall and that put him in a neck brace. So it's...
Dude, what's red and bad for your teeth?
What's red and bad for your teeth? What?
A brick.
Hey, Thanksgiving's coming up, right? I love to cook. So, went ahead and boiled the funny bone. Made a laughing stock. I thought that was pretty humorous.
Oh my god. That is pretty humorous.
I was listening to something the other day. I forgot what the guy's name is. It's essentially, it's when you see that you're making progress, right? You're hitting your goals. That's where the motivation comes from. Because you're seeing you're seeing yourself take the necessary steps and knock out little goals along the way to get to your main goal. And a lot of people think you need motivation to do that, when in a sense of you accomplishing your tasks is what continues to motivate you, because now you're motivated by seeing yourself take those steps, right?
Well, that's what we talked about last time. Remember? Having a positive outlook, it gives you maximum effort. Having that maximum effort gets you the best results. And then getting best results turns around and gives you an even more positive outlook. It's motivation to keep going, right? And not get motivated, but stay motivated. So mindset's super important for that. It's that positive outlook.
Oh, 100%, and a positive one too, right? It's a lot of I hate the phrase I can't. Like, I despise that phrase.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't. And what do you mean you can't? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's, do you want to or do you not want to? Right? So if you want to, let's say you're on a diet or you're trying to eat better, right? Like, we're all getting older. So I just turned 35 on Saturday. So we're trying to live a healthier life, right? So we could be here longer, right? Watch our kids grow, all that. But when you're out and about, right? It's like, oh, I can't, like when I did keto in 2018, it was, oh, I can't eat that because I'm on keto. Knowing eventually I'm going to cave and I'm going to eat the piece of cake or whatever it is, right? Whereas I don't want to eat that because it's not good for me or it's taking away from my goal, right? It's that I don't weighs a lot differently than the I can't.
I hate it for two reasons. Number one, I truly believe that everything is possible, that nothing is impossible, right? And even the most craziest outlandish stuff, right? Maybe the technology doesn't exist yet or we don't have the knowledge yet, but I truly believe that everything is possible, right? Number one. And number two, to your point, when somebody says I can't or somebody says I have to do something, that is you literally giving up your power, right? It's better to say I choose to or I choose not to, because otherwise you're a victim of circumstance. I can't because whatever reason, right? Better to say I can't yet or I choose not to because, but don't give up your power like that. That's crazy.
No, not at all. And we used to talk about that. We both come from a line of customer service in our past. And that was a big thing because when you're in a retail space, customer service is your number one driver of business. Because if people are satisfied coming to your place of business, they're going to keep coming back. And then they're going to tell their friends and their family. And then more people are going to keep coming. And every time we had a customer service conversation, I always shut down the conversation and said, look, customer service is a want to. You either want to give good customer service, you either want to be a nice, helpful person, or you don't want to be. It's not you can't be nice or you can't do this or you can't do that. Because like you said, you're giving up your power and you're making an excuse at that point. Right? It's either you want to or you don't want to. And that to me is very powerful because when you change, I have to do this, to I get to do this, you're turning a negative into a positive at that point. Because you're looking at it from, there's some people that don't get to wake up. There's some people that don't get to eat whatever they want. You know, I feel very blessed that you and I are in a position where we get to do a podcast. It's not from a lens of, oh, I have to do this because it gets me here, or I feel like it's beneficial or whatever. I get to do this because this makes me happy. Having a conversation with my brother-in-law and trying to, bring positivity into the world is something I'm very passionate about, and I get to do it, and I'm grateful I get to do it. Part of creating that positive environment, like we discussed last time and been discussing this time, where you quote unquote, stay motivated, or you're continuing to move through your checklist, you need to create yourself a conducive environment for that, right? And that's something that I am working on at the moment. We've been working on it for a little bit, but I'm about to kick it into gear. Not just decluttering my workspace, decluttering my life, decluttering my house. It's because when you have, the way I see it is, I have all this junk and it's weighing not just myself down, it's weighing my family down. And if I want my family to fly, I need to declutter.
I'm right there with you, right? Not only am I decluttering my mind, and honestly, that 30-day challenge is helping me out tremendously because I'm not that zombie that's scrolling through and consuming, right? I'm spending that time to sharpen the saw. That's when I'm reading, practicing music, just doing stuff to help me out, right? That's why I think setting those goals, beginning with the end in mind, is very important because now, like, I'm decluttering my time. I'm actively challenging myself to where, is this thing that I'm doing helping me get to my goal or not, right? But I'm also decluttering my space. I have a ton of stuff right now on eBay that's stuff that I loved messing with, but doesn't serve me in the long run. So I'm getting rid of that. I haven't even turned on my Xbox since the last time we talked about it, because it just really opened my eyes to, damn, I know it's a little game that I get in and play 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, and usually not more than an hour or two. And I justified it by, I'll get on there with buddies, or it was a stress reliever or whatever. But in all honesty, for me, the best stress reliever is when I am working to that goal, when I'm making progress. And just cluttering up your time, your mind, and your space is not going to get you that progress. So
no, not at all. And if you keep it around, you're setting yourself up for setbacks, right? It's okay to have outlets, but you have to minimize those outlets. You have to minimize the distractions. You have to minimize those things in your life that are clutter, because otherwise, when you set yourself back, a lot of times it's easy to get unmotivated, because now you're not checking off those boxes on the list, right?
The thing about the setback is it a setback that you did to yourself, or is it truly a setback where it's not really a setback? It is a learning opportunity where you just learned how not to do that thing, right?
100%. It's like I have to go out there and clean my garage. Did I set myself back by deciding to watch TV or sit on a game for 30 minutes or an hour, right? Or was I out there working in the garage and then a storage shelf broke? So now I have to go to the store, I have to get a new one, and then I have to there's, like you said, there's different types of setbacks. Is it something that I did to myself? Or is it something that just happened, which, like you said, built up that resilience, and it's a learning opportunity. Maybe I don't need to stack that much weight on the shelf.
But also, is cleaning the garage an actual setback, right? If your standards were high enough where it didn't get dirty, right? So now that's what you're actually working towards, is having the right procedures, mindset, whatever, set up so that you never have to clean that garage again. Why should you ever have to, other than the small maintenance, right? Why do you have to clean that garage again? Let's just not clutter it. That's time. That's the setback, right? That's time that I have to spend doing this, where now I know, hey, once I take care of this, I'm never going to do it again, because I'm not going to let it get to that point.
Agreed. 100% agree on that. And while you're knocking out these goals, it's okay to celebrate the small wins, right? It's like with our kids, right? It's, you motivated us to do something, because I know you have the chores written out, right? Of who's got to do what on what day or what week, right?
Did you see where I had it written out?
Oh, on the sliding glass door?
Dude, tip of the day, dry erase marker on a big sliding glass door. Everybody sees it, and it's not going to ruin nothing.
We don't have big sliding glass doors, so we got a dry erase board. But but it's the same concept, right? It's like, okay, kids got to do this, but we're going to earn Monopoly money, right? To be able to cash in to do, a movie night, or to go do this, or to go do that, right? It's those that reward system, right? For the kids to be able to be like, oh, if I do what I'm supposed to do, I can have fun. Because that's what we tell them all the time. It's like, hey, if we work together to knock out the household chores and the daily, we can spend the weekend doing something fun, right? We could go out tonight and do something fun and not have to worry about the stress of coming back home and nothing got done, and now we got to do all this stuff and trying to figure out when to squeeze it in. It's the same thing with adults. I joke around with the wife all the time that as a guy, I never grow up, I just grow old.
I don't grow old. I don't know what you're talking about.
I could tell, man. I got more grays than you, and I'm younger than you. But it's one of those things where it's okay to reward yourself for accomplishing something.
Well, think about this real quick before I'll let you get back to that. But we beat ourselves up when we don't accomplish something or we don't do what we should be doing, right? But we don't necessarily celebrate small victories on a regular basis.
100%. It, like you said, it's if you're going to beat yourself up for not being able to vacuum today, then why wouldn't you celebrate, decluttering your garage or the room or fixing up your yard or fixing the car or whatever it needs to get done? You should, you know what? I worked hard today. I'm going to go and get myself a burger or, just something to be like, you know what? I deserve an extra energy drink. Or, you know what I'm saying? Just those little things. And it helps hold yourself accountable. Right? Because it's great to have somebody to help you be accountable for what you have going on. We have the 30-day challenge going on, right? Sleeping better. Finding a huge difference in being able to having a clear head when you go to bed is going, that rhymes, poet didn't even know it. You're going to sleep better and you're going to wake up feeling better. And you're going to be a little bit more energized when you wake up in the morning because you had a better night's sleep, right? But holding yourself accountable is the number one thing, because there's a reason why when you're on an airplane and the masks come down, they tell you to take care of yourself before you take care of somebody else. It's because if you're choking, you can't breathe, you can't help the next person, right? So you have to be able to hold yourself accountable first. But it's the same thing of going to the gym with a partner. You're getting a spot. You're holding each other accountable. You have someone to watch your back, just like you're watching their back, right? It's having that buddy to help keep you motivated or on task, right, is very beneficial. Because on the days where you're slipping, because none of us are perfect.
I'm pretty damn close, though. I'm just kidding.
That hair is. That's a conversation for another day.
Golly.
But you know what I'm saying? It's being able to have that buddy to keep you going. We used to call them battle buddies when I was in the military. You would be paired up with somebody because you're there to watch each other's six and to keep each other on task and to get done what needs to get done. So it's definitely helpful. It's definitely something I recommend. If you don't have it, definitely get one. Through all of that, right, we just talked about how the 30-day challenge, I feel like I'm getting a little bit better sleep, right? Because my mind's I'm not scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or TikTok before I go to bed, right?
Well, you haven't bombarded your system with dopamine, and that keeps you up. It's so much harder to go to sleep when you're scrolling, when you're playing a video game, or when you're watching TV. And the other thing, when you hit that bed, if you've conditioned your mind to scroll, then that's what your body is going to be craving. When you hit that bed, and that's the area where I scroll, like that's what your body's going to be expecting. And then you actually start scrolling, and now you're getting all that dopamine, you're getting all those endorphins, and you're going to be awake for longer. And it takes a little while because truly we are addicted to technology, and you will truly suffer withdrawals from you not doing it. But once you get past a few days, man, when you hit that bed, your body will be conditioned to, oh, this is where I sleep, or this is where I make love, and it shouldn't be nothing else other than that, right? I've been getting up at 5 o'clock every morning, and so have my girls. Their bedtime's 8 o'clock, right? So as soon as we have dinner, they take showers. As soon as they're down, my technology is off, right? I'm not consuming anything. I might create something, but I'm not consuming anything. And it's life-changing.
You got to practice self-care, and that's coming into establishing a healthy routine, whether that's your sleep, your nutrition, exercise, managing your stress, all of that, right, should be a part of your self-care and your routines, right? You talked about, hey, we got to get ready for bed at a certain time, brush our teeth at a certain time, eat dinner at a certain time. Those are establishing healthy habits and routines, right? We talked about Jeff Hayden earlier. It's one thing he said was in his TED Talk was, you can do anything for 2 weeks. Anything. But what's going to keep you going, because it takes 3 weeks to develop a habit. What's going to keep you going is kind of what we just talked about. You're setting your tasks, your goals, right? You're celebrating the small wins, though, right? It's along the way, because that's what's going to keep you motivated. Be like, you know what? It's been 2 weeks and I just, stopped getting on my phone at 8 o'clock at night or whatever it is. And I'm sleeping better. I'm waking up more energized. I feel healthier. Whatever is going on, establishing those healthy routines is definitely what's going to keep you on task. It's going to keep you motivated. So this is something I really hope y'all, take into account, and really, whatever it is in your life that you need to get done. If something we said works for you, sparks your interest, go ahead and dive into it. And comment on the video, reach out to us, let us know how it's going. Let us know if you have any questions. Because that's something I'm definitely working towards, is creating a healthier routine for myself and ensuring that I stick to it and it becomes a habit. Because I have a goal that my family and I came together with. I know you just said you guys did as well, Gus. And I really want to get there. And I don't want anything to get in my way of me being able to declutter life, declutter our mind, and to really dive forward. Gus, give me a motivational quote or something. End this off the right way.
Everybody can get motivated in the blink of an eye. You need to stay motivated by being anchored to your why and using that as your compass to set up your daily habits, to create your routines, to celebrate those small victories, make progress, and have that positive mindset to continue doing it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's great. And I know sometimes it's hard to break out of your current habits or your ruts, or, to really propel yourself forward. But I heard the powerful quote I heard the other day that I really hope it resonates with you the way it resonated with me, is let your past inform your future, but don't let it define your future. And to me, that was powerful, because right? We talk about this all the time. Your learning opportunities that you have, right? Those are coming from your past. So if you let your past, those learning opportunities inform your decisions moving forward in your future, they're not going to define your future. They're going to help you redefine your future.
Do something today that the future you will be thanking you for.
Yep. 100%. Don't actually drop your mic, but
I don't got a mic to drop. I got a mic stand.
Is that a boom mic? What's happening here?
Yeah, it's a boom mic.
Don't drop the boom mic. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the Big Dad Energy Podcast. We would love to hear from you, so you can reach out to us on social media at bigdadenergypods. You can comment down below or email us directly at nick@bigdadenergypods.com.
Or Gus at bigdadenergypods.com as well.
Definitely go check out the website, because it's live, and stay tuned because we got merch on the way. Until next time, stay positive and bring
the energy! Hey, come check out the website. It's www.bigdadenergypods.com. And we have links to all of our other socials so you can connect with us there. We've also got our podcast on there that you can just play in the background. And we've created some lists of books, movies, and influencers that we would recommend. So go check it out.
Yeah, most definitely. This is a really awesome website, easy to navigate. Got a lot of info on Gus and myself. And like Gus said, great reads, great people, great watches. You can listen to the podcast in the background while you're on the site. And we do have merch coming soon. So definitely check it out, www.bigdadenergypods.com.